Hello. Today on the program, we will be talking about leadership and issues surrounding it with a man who has vast knowledge in that regard. He is described as the voice against stagnation. Dr. Derrick Samuels is the founder and president of Derrick Samuels Leadership Institute. He is a highly regarded business consultant, an author, a professor, and transformational leader who is on a quest to become one of the most prominent, inspiring thought leaders. His current published works include The Power of Movement, The Power of Your Tomorrow, The 10 Commandments of Success, Cutting-Edge Leadership Style, Substance and Sustenance, The Power of the New You, among others. He is a certified project management professional, holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, an MBA in management, and a PhD in applied management and decision sciences. Very happy to have him join us today on the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me here. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Let's just get down to it. Tell us a bit about the work that you do.
Very good. I am Dr. Derrick Samuels, the voice against stagnation. That means you can't hang around people like us and remain the same. It's not possible. We talk you out, we move you out, we drag you out of stagnation. Because in life, stagnation is what makes people not to smell well. Look at the water in the kitchen sink. They don't smell good. Look at the water in the lake. They don't smell good. You know why? They're not moving. Anything that lacks movement, whether it's in the national level, whether it's at the local level, it will not smell good. You could see the challenges we have in Nigeria today. If they have been moving through the process of growth consistently, things will smell good. That's why they call me the voice against stagnation. I come in, help people move from A to point B.
Why did you choose this part of leadership, of educating people and empowering them? What is your inspiration?
Very good. The power of suffering, the power of problems. You become stronger or weaker based on the challenges you face. I was lucky enough to see problems as a stepping stones to a greater height or higher fulfillments in life. Born in Nigeria, though I live in the US, I've been away for decades, but I know my struggle here, and I knew how I came out of that struggle. That's the reason why you call me the voice against stagnation, because I know what it takes to move from nothing, from zero, to being a hero.
Let's talk about leadership.
Yes.
That's your forte. Now, there is the saying that people get the kind of leaders they deserve. Is that case true of Nigeria?
Yes. At the same time, no. Yes, because when it's time to vote, you got to vote the right person that you think can do the job. That's one. Number two, the leader. Of course, let me go back to what one of the thought leaders of today said. He said, "Everything rises or falls by leadership," and that is so true. If you are doing well, check their leadership barometers. If they're not doing well, check their leadership barometers. So that is the reason why I say yes. It's yes because the type of leaders that we have in power, they determine so many things. They influence so many things. But true leadership must be anchored in knowledge. True leadership must be anchored on the people they lead. The strength of a true leader is anchored by the love for the people they lead. How do you know that you love the people you lead? When you prepare for them. How do you know you love the people you lead? When you respect them. How do you know you love the people you lead? When you don't take what belongs to them. When you steal from the government, when you steal from anywhere, you don't love the people. You can't love the people you lead and destroy them.
So what is your assessment of the leadership situation in the Nigerian system generally, not just maybe the political aspect? Are we getting it right? Or is there something missing in our leadership style?
First, nobody has ever gotten it right completely. There's always work in progress in leadership. Whether it's in the US where I live, whether it's in Japan, whether it's China, whether it's in East Africa, whether it's in Nigeria. Nobody can say completely, I've gotten it right. It's a work in progress. However, there are people who are slower than the other. due to different things, maybe bureaucratic red tape delays, maybe the processes are pretty cumbersome. So there are many things that could lead to that. So I will not be able to say exactly this is the situation in Nigeria. I don't live here. But at the same time, I can tell you that leadership, nobody has fully gotten it right. It's always work in progress. But there are things you can do to step up the game. That's where people like us as consultants come, give government ideas on what to do, how to implement that, and help them strengthen processes and help them put things, structures together that could help them, do the leadership thing that they do, and they do it well.
We will still be focusing on this, but I want us to take a little detour and talk about the current concern on every Nigerian's mind, and that is the insecurity in the country. It seems to be escalating on a daily basis. As a leader, what is your thought on how government is handling the entire security situation in this country? Their leadership style, is it helping or escalating the situation, or there's something that they're doing that we might not know, but it's a leadership thing that will help the country?
I think when it comes to security of any nation, particularly Nigeria, one thing I want to emphasize in this question is that all the people who are in the governmental agencies should understand the power of security of any nation or communities. So that means that you need to understand that if there is insecurity in a country, it deters investors from coming. It deters people. Tourism will not be booming if there's insecurity. So when you understand the danger of insecurity from the business perspective, you want to do something about it. And that is where I want to really talk about, when it comes to Nigerian government, for them to understand the urgency of the danger of insecurity. Because if you don't understand it, you won't be able to have that urge to do something proactively, right? Another thing I want to talk about, security issues in Nigeria is one. I would want the government to communicate with the citizens. I want to see more of people at the top level government coming out, like in the US, like in UK, like in different Western nations. One of the things that we enjoy is constant communication with our leaders. They come out on TV, they come out on radio, they come out on social media, they tell us the situation of things. And what does that tell me? It tells me that they value me. They put value and premium value on me. And that is pretty cool. So if you're not communicating to Nigerians as to the situation of the insecurity issues in Nigeria, what you're telling us is that the value you place on us as citizens is not as much important, and that is not cool. And again, the reason why you need to communicate effectively and efficiently is to also ensure that you're not only just talking to Nigerians, you're talking to people who are investors or who want to be investors in Nigeria, who want to visit Nigeria just to know about Nigeria. I live outside this country, and I discovered that most of the time when you mention the name Nigeria, people are so scared because they are not hearing from the leaders as to the opportunities that are out here, as to the situation about security. So it's the job of the government, to what? To communicate to the citizen, to say, this is what we are doing, this is what is going on now, but this is what we are put together, this is what we are trying to do, these are the strategies. It kind of instills confidence in the people, also instill confidence on those who are interested in investing here.
Interesting conversation so far. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation with Dr. Samuels. To stay with us. We still have with us Dr. Derrick Samuels talking about leadership and issues surrounding it here on One-on-One. Thanks for staying with us.
Appreciate it.
I want to take you up from the earlier comment you made about communication. If you juxtapose what is in the UK, in the US and what we have in Nigeria, our president is not a millennial. That everybody knows that. But even though the US president is not a millennial, he makes use of a whole lot of communication platforms. He communicates directly to the people. But then again, some would argue that most of his communication has been more chaotic than productive, so to speak. And then we have a situation here where the president rarely speaks. He goes through his aides to speak to the people. I want you to, make a comparison between the two of them and maybe make a suggestion on a better way for this president and this administration to communicate their policies and moves to the people.
I think that's an interesting question. First, in the U.S., you know that the president, he tweets more than he can. You know what I'm talking about. So, but at least he's communicating. You know what I mean? He may not be getting the communication in the right way, but at least the communication is, people are getting to know that he's communicating. So it's more dangerous in the place of absence of communication, when people are not communicating. Because you leave people in the dark, and that's not good. Don't leave people guessing. And that's one of the challenges I see here in Nigeria, and which I'm encouraging and suggesting that the government in Nigeria step up the game in terms of communication. You see, when you communicate, what it does to us is that it kind of gives us the window, an opening to know what is in your thought line regarding security, what is your thought line regarding policies, what is your thought line regarding projects that you are trying to implement. That is very important. And if you don't communicate to Nigerians, you leave them in the dark, you leave business people in the dark, you leave different people in the dark, you leave people who are outside Nigeria in the dark. That's not good. So my suggestion to those in government is, if you don't want to communicate directly to people, there are different ways you can communicate. Like you said, through their aides or through people, and trusted people, the ministers, even those in the House of Rep, I don't know what you call them here more, but I know like people in the Congress or people in the Parliament, they should also be communicating. The more we hear from our government, the more stability that we will experience. The more we hear from our government, the more people will have the confidence that there is hope. It is the government's job to fuel that hope in us, that all is getting well, all is going well. Number two, about communication is to be proactive. It's not enough for you to say, I'm communicating. With what is going on in Nigeria, especially in the area of communication, they should be proactive. We should be hearing from the government at least once, twice a week about national security issues. It's so important. And those who are listening to me, let me tell you why it's important. We live outside Nigeria, and at the mention of Nigeria, just the name Nigeria, a lot of investors, they run away because they are not communicating to them. And do you know, this might surprise you, most investors, they know more of Nigeria than the Nigerians know themselves. They are researching, they want to know, and they get information from their embassies more than they hear from the government of Nigeria. That is not cool. If you want serious attraction of investors to Nigeria, if you want serious business to Nigeria, we need to communicate. We are lacking in communication in Nigeria. The only way we can bring people together, the only way we can instill hope on the people, the only way we can motivate the youth, the elderly, all the categories of people, is to communicate effectively and efficiently.
Insecurity, you mentioned that in your comment. I want us to look at a suggestion put forward by the National Assembly just yesterday or thereabout, that there is need for the country to have a national security summit. Now, I know you might not be too familiar with situations here in Nigeria, but you know that we have a security challenge, and
sure,
it's up to the ante in recent times. Is that the way to go, considering that we've had a similar summit, not on security, but a national confab where issues affecting this country was discussed and a recommendation was made? None of those recommendations has been implemented. Do you see that this summit will help in any way to address the issue, or it will serve as a distraction that will just serve its purpose and then we'll move on?
I wouldn't use the word distraction, but I will use the word that it could be a good thing. It could be a beginning of a good thing, provided it is value driven. That means you have gotten to a point where you say, we want to discuss, also we want to implement. One of the challenges I have, especially in Nigeria, and some of these type of conferences and summits, is that it ends up in talk, and no action. And no action is the only force on earth that differentiates those who are making it happen from those who are faking it. So if you keep just talking and you are not doing, you are faking it. And that's not cool for a country of over about 200 million people. Now, why do I say it's important? It's important to talk about security issue. But most importantly, from some of us who are consultants, we look at issue of security, especially like from the US, from UK, and all those places, from decentralized point of view, the government of Nigeria need to find a way to decentralize security. Security is too much at the top than it should be decentralized. For what I mean is that, for example, now in the US, you have what they call the federal people in federal police. You see the state police. You also see the county, or what we call the local government police. We call them sheriff. We need to get to that point, because the only thing that will instill true security in Nigeria is that the communities are empowered with their own security measures, okay? And they are able to guide the community in a very, very quality way. And the state has theirs, the federal, they have theirs. And that is so important that we decentralize this. There's too much power at the top level that we need to give power to other people so that there will be some level of competitiveness, not competition, competitiveness in the area of security. I think communities in Nigeria can secure themselves if they are properly trained, if the government backs them up. I'm not talking about people who are outside the police. I'm talking about the police force in the local government, police force in the state government, police force in the federal. How can you tell me? You tell me something now. We have about 200 million people in Nigeria. How many police people do we have? Even when you have them, how are you taking care of them? Are you training them frequently? In the US, most of the police people, I do a lot of training for people at the top level, military and all that. But most of the people, we train them continuously. If there's anything I've enjoyed in the West, is that there's a continuous self-development, no matter the level, wherever we operate, whether in the government, or in the public or the private sector. We need to incorporate that. Nigeria has the capacity to do these things if we are willing to put our words into action.
We'll go on another short break now, and when we come back, we continue the conversation. This time, we'll be focusing on the youths and their leadership qualities. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us. Our guest is still here, and we did promise we'll be talking about the young people. What is your impression about the Nigerian youth?
I think I want to talk about, I am so passionate about the youth in Nigeria. You know why? Because I've suffered so much while I was here. I went through very difficult times in Nigeria. I also knew how I came out of my difficulties in life. And when I talk to youth, I talk to them passionately, because trust me, if the platform, the environment is conducive for the youth in Nigeria, you'll be amazed at the level of innovativeness, at the level of alertness, at the level of creativity. That's why when you throw a Nigerian youth into America, you throw a Nigerian youth into UK, you throw a Nigerian youth into Japan, you throw Nigerian youth into Canada, suddenly the thing that is in them begins to come out in a very beautiful, wonderful way. A lot of Nigerians are doing well, fantastically well in Nigeria, in the area of medicine, you name it. Why? The environment is conducive. So sometimes we blame the youth. We have to be very careful of just blaming the youth. We need to create a conducive environment for them to even think. You need to have a conducive environment to think, to thrive. If that environment is not there, they will be frustrated. They will be complaining, they will be murmuring, and they will be infighting, and that could also increase the level of insecurity. So that is one. Number two about Nigerian youth is that a true Nigerian youth is hungry for change, is hungry for success. That I can tell you. I lived in this country, and I know that I was so hungry for success and all the people that are around me. But this is what my advice for Nigerian youth. In a situation where things are not so good like this, we need to come up with creative ideas. Because in life, through discomfort, you come out of discomforts. Most of us discomforted ourselves so that we can come out of discomfort. So one of the things in Nigeria is I always tell them, don't wait until everything is all right for you to start something. You know, there's a flower called Titan arum. Titan arum is a flower that spent 9 years preparing to blossom. But guess what? When it eventually blossoms, it smells like corpse, like a dead body. That's why they call it a corpse flower. A lot of Nigerian youths are like that. They spend years trying to figure out until it is all come together before I begin to take action. Before they come up with the ideas are already old, and they become more frustrated. So Nigerian youth, you are listening to me, don't be like a Titan arum that prepare over and over until it's perfect. Step out. do the best you can. That I can tell you. In difficult times in Nigeria, years back, I used to go to people's houses, teaching them arithmetic. I graduated from engineering, and when there was no job, I became a bricklayer in Nigeria as a mechanical engineer. So I can tell the youth the power of self-sustaining yourself with what is available. That's another thing I want to tell Nigerian youth. Pursue the available, not the powerful. There are many things available in your communities that you can lay your hand in, and you'll be surprised, amazed that it will start working. Now, why do I say that? They asked one of the richest men on earth, that is Jack Ma. You know Jack Ma of Alibaba? Jack Ma of Alibaba. They asked him, sir, what is the secret of your success? He said, when people are pursuing whales, the biggest fish in the sea, in the ocean, I am busy pursuing shrimps. It means that I pursue the available, not the powerful. Nigerian youth understand that the available is what will take you to the powerful, is also what will make you powerful. Those little things in your communities, those little problems, they are solutions. They are crying for solutions. They are businesses. As I travel around in Lagos, for example, I see all those potholes. I see all those flooded areas. Those are businesses. There are many problems crying for solutions in Nigeria. So engage yourself. Get your hand dirty. What I mean, not stealing, not cheating. That's not what I mean. Food, you know what I mean? Roll off the sleeves and do some work. You know what I mean? These are the days to go back to farming. These are the days to learn how to become a mechanic. These are the days to learn how to be a barber. These are the days to go into fashion designing. These are what I'm talking about. I was in one of the East African countries not too long, and people were complaining, oh, I don't have money. Dr. Derrick, you're just coming to tell us that we need capital. Yes, capital is also very important, but you need to drive your ideas to a point where people begin to trust that we can help you, right?
There's this thing about the education of the young people. There's an argument that the education in this country does not prepare the youth for the kind of life, for the kind of reality that they eventually face. So would you subscribe to the school of thought that education should not focus basically on churning out people that are going to say yes sir, yes ma? Our curriculum should be revamped in such a way that right from kindergarten children are taught entrepreneurship skills, so that by the time they get to this point, and other soft skills that has nothing to do with the white-collar jobs, it should be built in our curriculum as one way to help the young people thrive.
These things are not new. What you just said. I've been at United Nations in New York City speaking about advocating for youth education. So I know what you're talking about in incorporating or integrating some level of curriculum that is practically oriented or practically driven, which is good. But the point is this. There is no nation that prepare their people for outside life experience completely. That is the truth. I don't care the university you go. I don't care the college of education that you go. It's, number one, it's an individual thing. Number two, it is also the environment the government has put in place for you to thrive, and the systems, organization cooperating with the schools and all that to make it happen. For example, like in the US now, in most of the universities, while you are a student, people are already doing unpaid internship. You tell a Nigerian to go and do unpaid internship, they will almost curse you out. Oh, you want me to go there and take my transport? There are so many Americans that will go to some organization for 6-8 months just trying to get the knowledge free of charge, but people don't know. So Nigerian youth need to also understand the power of service mentality. You know what I mean? Let me give you an example. Here you are. Somebody call you all the way from Nigeria and say, brother or sister, give me money. He said, I will give you money, but what do you want to do with this money? Why don't you start a small supermarket kind of business? I will fund it for you. But first, go and learn from somebody who has supermarket for 6 months. Learn how to get the goods. Learn what it takes to sell. Don't worry, just go there. Tell the person, don't pay me salary, let me learn. They'll say, no, how can I do that? That's how to do things. These things are not as easy as you think. So those youth who are listening to me, number one, I understand education is very, very, very vital. And it is a good thing for us to integrate practicality into what we teach in Nigerian education. But at the end of the day, it's an individual thing. When you graduate from school, you got to hustle. I was in one of the countries in Africa, and there was this young man. I was just coming out from the radio program. This young man was like, he came out with a belt. He said, buy this belt, buy this belt, buy this belt. I said, I don't use belt most of the time. I use suspenders. But because you're a hustler, very young guy, because you're a hustler and this was made in Africa, I'm going to buy it. But when I was trying to negotiate the price with him, there was this woman that came crying with 2 kids. She was crying, oh, give me money, please give me money. My children are hungry. I said, ma'am, I would love to give you money, but I can't buy your tears. I don't buy tears. You are selling tears now. Nigerian youth, don't sell tears, don't sell murmuring, don't sell complaining. What can you do with your hand? Africa is looking up to you. Africa is waiting for you. Take charge. That's why I wrote the book on Take Charge about African youth. Why? I specifically targeted just African youth. When I was writing that book, people told me, oh, why don't you make it universal? No, I said, it's African youth. Now, you think about it now. You see a typical African youth. The belt is Gucci belt. The wristwatch is gold. A lot of money. The whatever they are wearing, the sneakers is Air Jordan, and it's expensive. And look at the phone. The cell phone is about $1,000. If you sell those things, you can start a barber shop. If you sell those things, you can start a garden kind of business. Look, people just look at America. We work very hard. We don't live an extravagant life in America. It's a difficult place. For most of people who have traveled to America, you know that it's a difficult place to be. People at the age of 18, 19, 20, there are some, I'm a professor of business. Sometimes when I'm teaching my students, some of my students who are getting A's, they have 2, 3 jobs. Try to survive. They're already living. Try to work hard. Try to survive. Don't think you just come to America. There's no money that is growing out there. You got to work. You got to sweat. So Nigerian youth, I understand the situation, but this is the time to take the law of success into our hands.
Thank you very much. I was going to ask you to give a last message to the youth, but you've done that beautifully. Thank you so much for your time on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
And that is how we wrap things up. I hope you've been educated, entertained, and enlightened on this particular episode of One-on-One. Thank you for your time. I hope to see you soon. My name is Felicity Ezewike. Take care.